My name is Randy Reed. I'm the Executive Director of the National Lighting Bureau, and we are here for our annual lighting forum. Today's segment is entitled Journey of Illumination with 3D Printing. Our panelists are Sridhar Murphy at Signify, Dustin Clepton from HP, and Dr. Nataraja Narendran, Director of Research at the Lighting Research Center at RPI. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My first question is, why now for 3D printing? Why is it ready now?
Randy, the 3D printing has been there for a while. I mean, even in some of these things, we call it 3D printing today, they would have been known as SLA, stereolithography, say 30 years ago. However, over these last 3 decades, there have been many different technologies in terms of how do you create 3D structures have come about, and there are different ways that 3D objects can be made today. And some of the other industries, like the medical, aerospace, automotive, are far ahead in terms of using this technology for some of their components in their industry. So a lot of progress has happened, and there are a lot of different ways to make them. The process is different. And also material manufacturers are also gearing up their strategy for new materials for 3D printing purpose. Now, from a business point of view, supply chains are getting disrupted with different issues, like the COVID pandemic actually disrupted the supply chain a lot. So now this makes the lighting business included thinking of ways of making some of these things locally so that the disruptions can be minimized. And with the promise that 3D printing offers, there are numerous benefits. So people are considering 3D printing for manufacturing of goods.
Well, yesterday I saw a video in the news of a house in New York, and the house had been 3D printed. And it was fascinating to see that. So where do we stand with 3D printing and lighting? If we can print a house, we can print lighting. Is that right?
Oh, yes, I can speak about that. Absolutely. So 3D printing, like Mr. Narendran said, it's there for several decades now, but we introduced it for the lighting almost last 5 years. And if you see in the last 3 years, we have, as a company, us, and also I think several other companies are starting, but there are several projects which we have executed, even the corporate projects we have executed, and the 3D printed lighting is here to stay, we would think, in the next coming years.
Oh, okay. And let's discuss that. Let's discuss, what are we printing in 3D? Now, I've seen at the LRC years ago, I saw where you were printing shades and fixture housings. What can be printed today?
Oh, there's a whole lot of large portfolio which we could print it today. Say, for example, a lamp-based pendant, if you will. And it can also be industrial scale high base. So it can be a small lamp-based pendant, or a highway, or a track light, or even downlights. So entire portfolio can be 3D printed.
But again, we're printing the housing only. We're not printing the complete fixture.
So Randy, let me answer that. So today, from a commercial point of view, what Sridhar said, a lot of those things are shades, but going forward, there are opportunities for other components within the light fixture, okay? But those may be at development stages or R&D today, okay? For example, so we have this 3D printing consortium where HP is part of it and several others. And one of the goals we have set for that consortium is to look at the functional parts of the lighting fixture. When I say functional, when you take a light fixture, there are thermal, electrical, optical components involved, and each of them have different challenges, including materials and printing. So the consortium is working on trying to benchmark these activities, what we can do today versus what is needed in the future. So already, even just within the last 6 months, we have seen newer materials appearing in the marketplace that's enabling some of these components. So to give you an example, now you may be aware that we are working on a DOE project of a fully printed outdoor light fixture. So in that project, we
You
are
use
looking
the
at
term fully printed. You're saying fully printed. So does that include electrical, thermal, optical?
exactly. We have all of that except the chip itself, the LED package. We are not printing, that's an input. And also the complete driver is an input. Drivers can be printed, but they are not optimized because our goal here is to have the highest energy efficiency, even with the 3D printed. So we are using drivers that's already in the marketplace, but everything else, where the circuit board for having the LEDs on, the optical, whether it's a reflector or a transmissive lens, all of them are getting printed.
With thermal? So a heat sink?
Heat sink is also printed.
What kind of material, if I may ask?
So some of these things, what you have looked at are composites. So to give you an example, Randy, the industry currently uses aluminum for thermal management purpose. If you consider the thermal needs for most of the light fixtures indoors, anything less than 15-watt light fixtures, right? This is what most of your, say, residential applications would be. Composites are more than enough because aluminum has very high thermal conductivity of the order of 200 watts per meter Kelvin. But when you look at the composites and the needs to keep the LED cool enough so that the longevity is not affected, we need only about 10 to 15 watts per meter Kelvin. So composites can easily cater to that today.
Okay, Dustin, jump in here.
Yeah, thanks. Great conversation so far. So one thing I want to point out to those in the audience who are looking at this, because I'm sure some of you are thinking, wow, this is pretty impressive. The important thing to remember here is this is a different manufacturing process. So there's a big learning curve there. And what I've found, having worked with applications for many years now, is a lot of people, they fixate on wanting to print one specific thing. And although that's great, sometimes it's better to start somewhere else that's a little bit easier to get your feet wet and understand design. So one of the applications that tends to come up a lot with lighting that not everyone thinks about is you could think of parts clips to hold wiring, for example. It seems like something you won't normally think about, but maybe you don't need thousands of these because you just need a specific design for a specific shape for a specific project. Well, 3D printing works really well for being able to print clips to hold things together. And after you get past those basics, then you can start to progress to the level of Narendran, of what he's talking about with design, where you can start to look at different shapes and designs, maybe integrating math and biometric based or biomimicry based designs for heat sinks or things that go beyond what we can possibly do today. And that's really where you get the value of additive manufacturing.
Just to add on to what he said and Mr. Narendran said, those are the 3D printed components. But let me show you a 3D printed, for example, a pendant. So this is the whole light fixture. This is the whole light fixture. You just put a lamp and this whole thing is 3D printed. You can also print, say, for example, a logo, if you will. So,
okay.
And then,
let's talk about that. Hold that up again.
Yeah, sure.
About how long did it take to print that?
Okay, that's an interesting question. So this takes just about 45 minutes to print. That's about it. So the whole thing gets printed in a one go, even if you have to put a logo there. And then the moment it is outside of the printer, just pack it and ship it. So that's why the 3D printing, one of the big advantages, the time to deliver is shortens. Also, this is very sustainable.
Okay. And then what about the cost? How does that cost compare to if you would have manufactured that at one of your facilities, probably in Asia, and then brought it over here to the US? How do the costs compare?
Well, that's another very valid question in the sense we bring a new technology, it is sustainable, but if it is not cost competitive, then the market will not accept it. So we got to be very competitive. If you ask me, if the similar pendant is manufactured out of a glass or a metal, which is less sustainable, but it would cost at least 50% more than what a 3D printed product can. So 3D printed products are at least 40 to 50% can be lower than the current products.
Yeah, so the other thing to think about here is 3D printing isn't always cheaper than traditional manufacturing processes, and that's fine. The way I like to think about this technology, it's like going from a typewriter to a computer. A computer can do the same thing as a typewriter, but it can do so much more beyond that. And so because of the extra things that you can do to make crazy designs, there's no way you could make this any other way. So what is that worth? What is it worth to be able to take the design that you have in your head and actually make it a reality, along with being able to make it locally and ship it not as far, and shorten that supply chain, and to be able to match supply and demand. So when you think about cost, you got to look at the full picture. You can't just look at the piece cost, because then that's not doing a justice to all the value that it's giving along the supply chain.
Yeah, that's just to add on to that. That's absolutely right. One advantage with the 3D printers is the 3D printer can say, for example, in the morning, you can print a pendant. In the afternoon, you can print a track lighting out of the same 3D printer. So that is the kind of flexibility the 3D printer give you instead of when compared to a conventional line of manufacturing.
Okay, but again, if you will, we're going to come back, hold that track lighting up. So that
Yep.
multifaceted, beautiful reflector, when will we be able to print that?
There are, this whole thing is 3D printed, but the metal part is not, like you said. But metal is also can be 3D printed, and there are companies which does that. But to give the right light output, to get the light beam angle, the work is in progress. If you ask me, in next 12 to 18 months, we should be able to 3D print even that part, the metal part.
Okay, guys, I'm really showing my ignorance. Hold that fixture back up. Bring that back up here. Would the 3D printer in 3 or 4 years, would it print that all as one piece, or would it print the housing and then it would print the reflector, and then you would have to marry the two of them up?
If you ask me today, it will have to be separate, but we don't know where the technology goes. So it's a bit premature to answer, I would think. But at present, it's sort of we print this and assemble the rest of the part. But in future, we may be able to print all together as well.
Okay. And Dr. Narendran, do you see what Shredder's talking about, I think, would be like at a Signify factory, they would be building these components. But you see these 3D printers going to the job site. Is that right?
So in the long run, that's our goal. Again, Randy, we are not talking about what we can do today or even within the next year. We are talking about maybe a 10-year development cycle where if we can change the lighting practice, how things are done today. So instead of making light fixtures of some faraway locations, storing them, shipping them, storing them again, and just shipping it to their job site. So this is where the cost impact. So when you talk about cost, you shouldn't be talking about just the cost of the fixture. Yeah, fixture may be only $20, but by the time you include all these other costs of storage and everything else, it's going to increase that. So if we can imagine a time, if we can ship printers and materials to the job site where we can on demand print them and also change designs if it doesn't match with the architecture, okay? Those are the sort of the values we like to bring to the table, because I mean, even today, people are looking at custom fixtures, but it's not affordable for a lot of applications. That is the reason that's happening. So our hope is the savings you get by making these fixtures on-site, on demand, you can reduce the cost. Again, not today. We should not be talking about cost today. Today, we should be talking about the value it can bring to us, okay? Because there are some things you cannot make it in traditional ways. There are some substructures. It's impossible to make it by injection molding, but you can make by 3D printing, okay? So those are the type of things that will actually set the table for the lighting industry to move towards 3D printing, and also enables a lot of the things that we cannot do today, but using 3D printing, we can.
Okay, so Dustin, you're not in the lighting industry.
Correct.
Are. Tell us, what are some of the fascinating things that you are seeing right now coming out of 3D printing, practical products?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one thing that I just want to add on to Narendran before I comment on that, as far as a value goes, and this extends across the board with 3D printing, is part consolidation. So you were talking earlier about that light that you're holding up with multiple components. Well, what we're finding in 3D is, yes, you could individually print each little part and then assemble it together. But in some situations, it makes sense to meld all those pieces to one part together. And when that happens, what you find is normally there are less potential issues because of things not assembling together correctly, or failure modes. So it allows for a more robust product because it's all integrated to one single component. So by doing that, you're saving costs and you're saving failures and potential recalls, which definitely has a value. As far as other applications out there, as I've kind of alluded to, I'm seeing a lot of exploration with biomimicry or bio-based or bio-inspired designs, where you can make the things that you couldn't possibly make with other geometries or with other technologies, other manufacturing processes. And so by being able to integrate that with a variety of materials which are on the market and colors and flexibilities, you can do some really cool things.
Are you seeing any electrical products for 3D, true like a driver? You're not seeing that yet, correct?
So just to be clear, I don't work in the 3D metal space, so I can't really comment to that. I do know that there are some different companies out there doing things like that. For example, there's a company that 3D prints circuits called Nano Dimensions. So they do things of that nature. I predominantly focus on the plastics.
Really? So we are getting circuits built already in 3D.
Yep.
Okay. Dr. Narendran, this is for you really, and Schrader as well. Let's think about 10 years in the future, when the technology has really proven itself and now it's mainstream. And we know how we do business today in lighting, in that there's a new building going up and everybody bids, and the spec gets locked and people try to break the spec. Do we see that a company like Signify would own the 3D printer at the job site and print right there? Or would it be like an HP that would own the 3D printer, and the lighting industry would all compete, and then the winning bidder would send their files to HP, and that would be printed on site? Who will control this? Will it be the HPs of the world, or will it be the lighting industry?
I'm from the lighting industry. I would guess the lighting manufacturers will control that part. But to your point, the scalability is much easier with the 3D printing. Say, for example, we have a 3D printing farm. We don't call it as factory anymore. It's a 3D printing farm in East Coast now, in Pennsylvania. And if there is a huge volume of business, we will have another printing farm in, say, in Chicago, one more in San Francisco. So it's much more scalable. I think we will move much closer to the customer. That's one part of the comment. But the other one, where it would move in, say, in 5, 8, 10 years, I would say we are in the indoor segment now. But in coming years, in next maybe 3 years even, we would also start moving into the outdoor lighting fixtures as well with the 3D printing, which are functional.
Dr. Narendran said, I think the DOE is working on one right now for an outdoor fixture. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's under development again, R&D. The main goal there is to understand, okay, what is possible, what are the remaining challenges, so that those challenges can be overcome. So the projects we work on, Randy, are more research and development, whereas Sridhar and Dustin are working on stuff that people can actually get it made in a commercial fashion, right? So yes, so if we are working on R&D today, yes, it is conceivable in the next 2 to 3 years, you might see at least a few custom in the commercial world, but then 5 to 6 years, it may be something that it's commonly done. So again, right now, and as you know, Randy, the lighting industry is going through a transition. Okay, there are a lot of things. It's going through a transition. Transformation is happening, right?
Noted.
So there is more emphasis on customization, right? So people are talking about connected systems, people are talking about tunable lighting and all of these. So now there is more need for customization because one size may not fit all for the different applications. Right. So what we'll be looking at is with 3D printing, it opens up the doors to make things. So now if there are sensors involved in the fixtures in the IoT world, right? So those sensors, you don't have to put all the sensors at the same time. So depending on the job, if you need an ambient light sensor or a humidity sensor, whatever that might be, now you can modify your design and have only the things that's needed for that application. So customization is going to be the key, and there's nothing better than 3D printing to do that cost effectively.
Sridhar, Signify is one of the leaders when it comes to sustainability. Speak to the issue of the circular economy with 3D printing.
Yeah, the 3D printed products contributes to the circular economy in several ways. One is the product which I just showed. These products are printed out of polycarbonate material. So what happens is once the product is, say, after 3 years, 5 years, or 10 years, if the customer want to change the look and feel of their place, we take back those material, melt it, and reprint a new product out of that. So that's the beauty of it. And also these products are very light in weight. So the same number of fixtures gets transported, and then they use less weight, because of which you reduce the carbon footprint again. So there are several aspects to the 3D printing which contributes to the sustainability and circular economy factors.
Okay, so where do you think we'll be in 5 years from now?
If you ask me quickly, we are executing large jobs already, projects like JP Morgan, Marks and Spencer, and those kind of customers where we are supplying 10,000, 20,000 3D printed fixtures. But moving along, at present with the polycarbonate, there are some challenges in terms of printing the squares, printing the linears, those kind of issues. But in 2 to 3 years, I would think we will expand the portfolio into so much into the functional lighting. You should be able to see 3D printed products almost everywhere. That's where I think we will move ahead in the next coming years.
I'll go back to JP Morgan. What type of fixtures do they have that are 3D printed?
JP Morgan, what we did was in UK, actually, we supplied, I think, thousands of fixtures there. Those are downlights. Okay. And downlights, almost 80% of the downlight part is 3D printed. So only about 20-25% was non-3D printed. So, but otherwise, they're using 3D printed downlights.
Okay. Okay. Dustin, 5 years from now, where will we be?
It's a really good question. It's interesting how fast things are changing. When I first started in 3D, I had a pretty good sense for kind of the market and what's happening. And now it's every day I'm learning something new from someone else from a different direction. So, I would probably second Narendran's thoughts of mass customization. What I'm hearing from a lot of the big companies out there right now is they're wanting to do mass customization to personalize products for what people really want. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be able to individually express our own personalities and our own thoughts. And that goes with companies wanting to express their brand through everything that they design in their business or products that they sell. So the difficulty is figuring out how do you do that first off, and then how do you do that at scale and be profitable? And so I think a lot of people are looking at that. And so I see that in the future, things are going to get more connected and it's going to be easier to do that. There's a lot of hurdles to overcome because you have design and economics and supply chain and all of that there. But I think we'll be a lot closer and it'll be a lot easier to do that sort of thing 5 years from now.
And is the private market basically funding this, or is there a lot of government research involved as well?
Yeah, so I focus mainly on the commercial sector, and most of the people I work with is private funding. It's not through the government. There are some, and those programs certainly help, especially early on when applications are being newly developed and no one wants to get too close to it because they're not sure if it's going to work or not. But it's really those grants and those institutions like ones that Narendran represent that really set the stage and set the standard for what is possible. And so it takes a big collaboration between a lot of parties to bring things forward.
Randy, I see this 3D printing for lighting analogous to LEDs. So in early 2000, when LEDs came on, so initial development were taking place with industries pioneering new ways of making them. And then as they started showing promise, there was public money became available to do a lot of other supporting activities. Because, for example, if the industry needs to grow, I mean, we need the innovators in the manufacturing sector, but at the same time, we need some common activities like creating standards or training other folks in the supply chain. All of those things needs to come together if we have to transform the industry. So that is what we are hoping, again, with the consortium. Right now, it's small, we are making some headway, but at some point, we are hoping that we will get some larger participation from the public funding agencies so that we can transform the lighting industry to start adapting 3D printing because of all these different benefits, from circular economy to make it more green, lower carbon footprint. All of those benefits are there. So I think over the next decade, we are going to see a lot of these things coming together. So to give you an example of some of even the current development, today, if you ask in the industry, what is one of the most challenging components, it'll be the transmissive optics, a lens. Okay. Is one of the most challenging pieces to make. The reason is the printing process, for most part, it's in the stereolithography type where a UV or short wavelength radiation is curing the material. So what happens is some of those material used for printing lenses, if they used in a lighting fixture that may have those wavelengths present in the light source, over a period of time, they may degrade, okay? But some of the newer materials and newer techniques that people are using, those kind of impacts are becoming lower. So in fact, here's a lens we created for an outdoor fixture where we can get the application efficacy to be of the order of 85%. When I say application efficacy, this is not light exiting the fixture. This is light received at the precise location within the precise boundary. Okay. So this is another place where the 3D printing is helping us, is because now you can create shapes that can better allow you to do that. So these refractive optics can be made more efficient in delivering the light to where it is needed.
And that's, I think that's what you were saying, is that it allows us to create things that we could never create before without 3D.
Exactly.
So, okay, I understand that.
And so that's where design becomes really important. And design is a hard thing, as especially the lighting sector knows. It's so important, and there isn't a process necessarily for it. And that's where designing for your printing process makes a big difference too, because there are lots of 3D printing processes out there. And depending on your design, you may get better results or less good results with your final print. So designing for the process is important. It's an example would be, you wouldn't take a CNC design part and put it into an injection molding machine. It just wouldn't make sense. So you have to do the same thing here.
You know, sometimes the requirement, maybe when an installer is in the field trying to install these fixtures, okay, installation, it has its own challenges as well. A lot of times the brackets may not fit well, sure, or the location you're trying to. So now if you have a 3D printer, you don't have to delay the project 2 weeks to get somewhere else machine components to come and hang these fixtures or install them in space. So 3D printing can be used even for mundane things like that, which will add value to the whole industry.
Sridhar, any closing comments?
Yeah, as I said, I think about 10, 15 years back, the way LED was taking shape, and now nobody talks of conventional versus LED. Everything is LED now. right? So that's what now 3D is in that position. But in 3 years, 5 years, I think conventional manufacturing will mostly go away and everything will be 3D printed. It becomes very common. That's what I think will happen. And we would look forward to see that happening, being in 3D.
And so great for American jobs because
Oh, yes.
here in the US.
Printed locally.
Dustin, closing comments?
Yeah, so I would say for anyone out there who maybe doesn't have any experience with 3D or has kind of dabbled, and you're trying to think, hey, would this make sense for my business? When you're doing evaluation, think of it from the full perspective, the full cost of supply chain. Because there are extra benefits you get with 3D, like you do with a computer compared to a typewriter, that you can't necessarily quantify. And as Narendran said, to be able to troubleshoot seemingly difficult tasks that put delays on projects, how much is that worth? Is that something you factored into your costs in the past that has a quantifiable value, or is it just something you've accepted as a part of the process? And the thing is with additive in general is it helps you to tackle all those different things along the way that maybe you didn't think about, you didn't plan for, or you just accepted was normal in the past. So go into it with an open mind, and I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Okay, Narendran?
Randy, what you're hearing from all of us about the development, but the greater population don't understand. When I say greater population, just within even the lighting industry, right? So education is a key component of this whole thing, okay? So we have to make sure the supply chain, the value chain members, everybody gets educated so that they understand the value and how to create value. Because today, if you look at only from a cost point of view, it may not make sense, okay? But once you—
LEDs didn't in 2002.
Exactly. Right. I can remember one of the first LED light fixtures cost over $20,000.
Wow.
The same fixture today will be less than $100.
Okay.
Right? Because remember, we were trying to address lighting issues when white LEDs were producing 2 or 3 lumens out of that. So imagine when you want a 15,000 lumen stadium light. If you need to make that, yes, you can put them all together and make it, but the cost will be so high. But it was only a demonstration. So some of these things that's happening today are showing the capabilities of 3D printing. But over time, people will find ways to reduce the cost. But first, we need to convey this information to the greater population to understand the benefits of 3D printing. Okay, and with more education, more participation of the folks in the lighting industry, I'm sure this will become a reality in the coming decade.
Well, gentlemen, I want to thank you all for your time. This is a fascinating discussion, and it really is like LEDs in the early 2000s. And this is something that we're going to continue to talk about. So I think our audience will be very interested in this. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.